Whether you're already working at Amazon or you're looking to work at Amazon, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of working at Amazon from my experience. Let's talk about it. We're going to start with the pros first. But before we do, don't forget to click the like, subscribe, and bell notification for the latest HE content. Now, I think the first pro that would be a deciding factor for a lot of people would be the pay, right? So, pay. I put that in the pro column because they start off $15 an hour. That's base pay no matter what position or warehouse position, no matter what warehouse position, unless you're like, in the manager or whatever level. But starting off base pay for mostly everyone is $15 an hour. Plus, you get an extra $1.30. Last time I checked, correct me if I'm wrong, $1.30 for differential pay. For instance, on weekends is a differential pay. Nights is a differential pay. So if you work in any shift that was overnight or any shift that was on the weekends, you get that extra $1.30. That's $16.30 an hour that you're getting with no experience, no warehouse experience, but coming right in and getting that. So that's a pro for me. I'll talk more in depth about pay in another video. Right now we're just kind of trying to go through the list of pros and cons. So pay is a plus, right? The next pro is how easy it is to get hired. I mean, it's so easy. The application process is easy. The orientation is easy. The background check and drug test, all this stuff is easy. Unless you dabble in drugs, then you might be concerned about that. But to each his own, right? Yeah, so all this stuff was so easy. I mean, anybody can do it. It's not like you got to sit down in front of somebody to be interviewed and they have to decide who they're going to pick like some jobs do. You don't have to see anybody until they actually say, you're hired, pick your shift, come up for orientation. And at that point, you're still not, trying to sell yourself. You're pretty much in the door by then. So pro for sure is the application process. Another pro for me would be how easy it is to take off work. I love the fact that Amazon, you don't have to explain to them why you want to take off. You got a certain amount of days, you got a certain amount of hours that you can use, whether it's paid time off or unpaid time off. But the trick to that is, as a seasonal worker, even as a permanent worker, but for sure as a seasonal worker, once you use all your time, you don't have any more, of course, right? So say, for instance, you use all your time before the end of the year, and then you got to do something. Something comes up where you got to, handle that. Well, you can't take off. And if you do, you better have a good excuse. You better make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's, because if not, they could put you at risk of getting fired. So I love the fact that your manager won't be calling you like, where you at? Where you at? When you coming in? Why you not coming in? None of that. But you ain't got to bring no doctor's note. You don't have to bring any forms to fill out. Just go to your account and set those days and be done with it. Another pro for me would be the 5-minute grace period that they give you to clock in. Like for me, I'm always pushing it, like to get to work. And I need those extra 5 minutes, because I promise you, it's so many times where it'll be like I'm running in, and I know I don't supposed to be running in the warehouse, trying to get to that clock so I can clock in, and it's like 4 minutes and some seconds left, and I swipe it, boom, clocked in. Then I see the time change. I'm like, wow, I barely made it. But as long as you clock in within that 5 minutes, you good. Like, you got a 5-minute grace period. And that saved me a lot of times, because when you're late, it counts against you. So you can't be late only so many times before it gets to the point where they will probably penalize you for it. And you can check with your HR front desk on those specific penalties. I guess you can say for me, another pro was no uniform required. Dress code was very lax. Wear what you want to wear, but of course you can't wear things that are considered to be revealing. But yeah, for the most part, you just wear what you want to wear. You just go up there with some jeans, shorts, t-shirt, whatever, and just get to work. So for me, I like that because I don't care to put on uniforms. Another pro for me would be the company providing your PPE, personal protection equipment. PPE is what they push in a lot of warehouses. If you work in them, they're going to push PPE. So I like the fact that they provide that for free. They have these vending machines that allow you to go to them and get different PPE items. So I used a lot of gloves while I was there. I would get those gloves like every shift. And I've been at other places, other warehouses where they didn't provide that. And so you have to provide your own. If not, you just gotta, if you don't have it, you just gotta work with what you got, your hands. And I wasn't a fan of that. So I would say that's a pro. They got gloves, they got vests, vending machines full of PPEs. That's a pro. This is kind of a con for some and a pro for others. So if you're seasonal, it's a pro because you get paid every week. So we're talking about pay. And so if you're seasonal, you get paid every week, right? And that's great. I've been seasonal and I loved it for that reason, getting paid every week. If you're permanent, you get paid every 2 weeks. So that would be a con for me because I don't want to wait 2 weeks to get a check. So it's actually a pro and a con, depending on what's your preference and depending on what's your position. Also, another possible pro and con, depending on the person you are, is cross training. Me personally, I didn't like the cross train. So, I prefer to stay where I'm at. If I'm in a good, groove at where I'm at, I prefer to stay there. I don't want to go to another department, have to worry about their little rules and worry about how they function over there and how to meet their rates. I didn't care for that. So, that's a con to me. But for others, it might be a pro because, you might not like the area you're in. And, going to another area might give you something to do. Plus, you might end up enjoying that area. So it depends on where you at, what you're looking for. But it could be either a pro or a con. All right, so one huge con for me, and I'm going to break it down a little bit in the con section, but it's labor. Labor, man, when I tell you they work your butt off, they work your butt off. And it's not really the labor, because the labor is pretty simple as far as the task, but it's the repetition of that labor. So if you're in there for 8 hours, 10 hours, and me personally, I was in there for 12 hours. And so I had to be in there for 12 hours doing the same thing pretty much the whole time. And when I tell you, I used to dread coming in a lot of nights because I work nights. I used to dread it. I used to dread it. I'm like, 12 hours, I got to be in here. The only reason why I did 12 though was because you get your 3 days on, 4 days off. And I value my time. So I'm like, just get in there and grind for 12 hours, 3 days out the week, get it over with. And then come, the rest of the days on your off days, just focus on you. So that's why I did 12 hours. But labor, boy, that's what's going to either make you or break you. That's what's going to either let you know if you want to go seasonal to permanent, or if you're coming in permanent, if you just, just can't deal, because it was a challenge for me every time I clocked in, just getting through it, just pushing through it. So definitely number one con for me was the labor. All right, another con would be being on your feet the whole time. Once you get in that warehouse, you're supposed to be on your feet the whole time. So when I tell you I dreaded that, when I tell you I was trying to find ways to duck off, to find somewhere to sit, I mean, it's crazy because it's a long time. I used to work 12-hour shifts, and 12-hour shifts are gruesome. I would see people, if they were working in those little stations, they would kind of make little seats out of boxes. You know, if their manager or supervisor wasn't tripping about it, you know, they'll make a little seat. I don't think I've seen too many people sitting down as they were working, other than HR or the front desk. So, yeah, definitely a con. Definitely a con. Thumbs down. Another con, if you ever work at Amazon and you're in a department that goes by rate, rate is just a number that they give you to meet throughout the course of that shift. And they might have it to where you have to meet it, you know, before break, or, you know, before the first break or before lunch, and pretty much throughout the shift. So I used to dislike rates with a passion, because I've worked in those apartments before, and I used to work my butt off. Work my butt off thinking I'm hitting that rate, right? And then I go look at the chart, look at the little printed paper, and I'm like below rate. You telling me I worked my butt off that whole time and I didn't meet rate? I ain't like rate. So one of the cons would be having your phone on the floor. So the only way you can have your phone is bringing it into the warehouse and taking it directly to your locker. And when you're on break, in a break area, you can have your phones out and use them then. But as far as having it, you know, just in your pocket while you're on the floor, that's a no-no. And I would say for me that was a con, because I'm used to like having that access to my phone. Another con would be the breaks. So I'm gonna tell you how that's structured. So if you work 12 hours, you get one lunch break, which is 30 minutes, and then you get 2 breaks, which are 15-minute breaks, short breaks. And when I say 15-minute breaks aren't nothing, like nothing, like by the time you sit down, it's like, okay, I got 10 minutes left, and then they want you to be up. It depends on how strict your area is, but a lot of times they want you to be at your station 15 minutes later. So that means you got less than 10 minutes to go there and back and sit down and get your whatever you're gonna get, your snacks or whatever. It's crazy. But that's a con for me. That was a definite con for me. I used to dread that. And so what I used to do was go to the restroom sometimes, you know, just to kind of get a break away from the station, because it was crazy. If you're working less than 12 hours, like you're working a 10-hour shift or 8-hour shift, whatever, from the last time I checked, you get one break, one 15-minute break and one 30-minute break. So that's a long time. If I was working 10 hours and only got one break and one 15-minute, one 30-minute, that is not cool. But of course, when you're dealing with production, they want you out there, they want you pushing the product, you know, so, and they trying to make sure they're saving money. So they're not gonna let you take too many breaks, because you're making them lose money. And then if they gotta pay you to be off the clock, then of course they're losing money on top of that. So I get it, I get the structure, but that's definitely a con for me. So thanks for tuning in, HE family. As always, I am he, Heinz Enterprise.
Wow, that's amazing.